welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have a couple of fun crafts for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Let's make the title easy today. Here we go on some DIY spring crafts. So let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I have this cutting board. I think it was gifted to me. It's one that looks like from Hobby Lobby, and it's about 7 inches in width. And then the length is about 16.5 inches or so, not including the handle. I'm going to cut that handle off. And then I want to make some bunny ears here. I'm also going to use these wonky carrots. It comes in like a trio with some flowers from craftingwithkimber.com. I'll have a link down below. So what I've done is I've created just an ear pattern. And that's what I'm going to use with my jigsaw to cut it out. And then I'm making a line across because I want to make it straight there. And then here I am using my jigsaw. Handle comes off first. I saw this bunny ears shaped cutting board on like Pinterest, and I'm like, well, I can do that. And yes, you'll have a free printable. It's like a set of 4 printables for this project today. One sheet will have like these bunny ears on them, so if you want to kind of do the same thing, and then you've got 3 kind of different designs. It's all the same wording to work with, but some with and without an image in the center of the design. So just kind of finishing cutting out. It actually made it nice and easy this way to work with the vinyl material. Now, if you don't have a Cricut machine, I mean, you can print the PDF out, and then you can buy some of that, cheap vinyl from Dollar Tree, and then use that to trace it onto that vinyl and then cut it out by hand, and that way it'll stick onto your cutting board if you want to try this, or just trace the PDF out and then do it that way. But this kind of made it easy, and it helped me to stay along the lines. And I was surprised this cutting board wasn't too hard to cut, because I didn't know if it was going to be really hard wood or not. Then once I'm done, what I did on the edges up here is I just kind of cut them at an angle, and now I am smoothing them, obviously with sandpaper. I'm rounding it out, and then of course sanding everything else off just to make it look all nice and smooth. And you could totally just leave it like this if you wanted, but I thought it would be cute to add a little bit more design to it, that kind of thing. So I'll finish this up and then meet you back inside. Here we are. It's all ready to go. All right, so what I'm going to do is just take some Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Drop Cloth, and I'm going to add a little bit here in the ears and then a little bit down the center. You all know I like to do this. It's just a way to add a little bit of color, but not like paint the whole thing. Of course, you can paint the whole thing if you want. And then outside, I will sand and distress it off. Now, the ears look a little funny to me before we get our stuff on there, but you'll see in the end it starts looking good. So I have these carrots, like I said, craftingwithkimber.com. Before I paint anything, I want to trace the carrot, and then I come in about 1/8 of an inch and I redraw that pattern perimeter. And then that's what I'm going to cut out. And I do the same thing for the leaf top. All right. I love that these carrots have like that extra little leaf top to go on top, because it really makes them 3D. And as I said, it comes with this, I'm sorry, I can't remember how many carrots, and then some flowers and stuff with it. So here's what it looks like cut out a little bit short, so you can see that wood perimeter around. Now I'm going to take some Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Terracotta. And I'm going to paint the bottom of the carrot, and then the leaves, I've just got this green. It looks like horrible, if you look to the left, curdled paint. That's how it comes, but it paints on really smooth. It's the weirdest paint. Got it down at the local Ace Hardware store, but it works great. It's just a sage green color. And of course, like I said, just painting the bottom portion of the carrot with Bella in the terracotta. And then you could just go to this aspect of it, distress around the edges, and then leave the carrot. Okay? Now the free printables, I have a carrot on the inside of the design, and then I also have a bunny shape if you didn't have anything wood shape or to use. I also just didn't want to leave it painted, so I took my papers to my sewing machine and I sewed around them to give them a little bit of a nice kind of country feel. And then I'm taking my scissor blades and I'm scraping along the edges of the paper to kind of roughen it up a little bit, and then we'll glue each of these paper pieces to the top. But again, you could just paint it, or you could paper it, or you could do both like I'm doing. And then we'll get the green leaf stuff glued on top. Lost my train of thought here. And then it makes a cute little carrot in the end. This is a 1/2 inch wood. I don't think I said that. So here's where my ears look a little funny, but it'll all start to come together in a minute. Okay? Because I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't want that white up there. Here is one part of the free printable I'm giving you. Then there's 2 more pages, one with a little carrot in the center, just a black silhouette carrot, and then one with a bunny in the center, again, just a black silhouette bunny. I'm choosing to use the version without anything on it so that I could put that wood carrot in the center, of course. Now, I do know that Dollar Tree has those packages of like 5 carrots that are decent size, or bunny shapes or egg shapes, whatever, that could work in the center here if you wanted it that way. You could also take this and just print it out onto some scrapbook paper or cardstock and glue that to the top of your cutting board, however you would like to do it. So now I'm just gluing my carrot down in the center, of course, and I wanted to add some splatters, as I usually do, because you all know I think it kind of brings the whole project together. I'm starting with some orange on the carrot and then just a little bit around it. I don't want it all over the board, because then I think once I come in and start adding the black splatters, it could look a little Halloween, and that's not our intention here. We want to make it a little bit spring. So I keep the black splatters around, you know, the design and then up into the ears a little bit. That makes this project complete. What do you think? So let's move right on into project number 2. For this project, I have a sweet subscriber in my Facebook group, and she posted this picture and asked if I could come up with something. So we're going to see what we can do. It's not going to look as shabby chic as this, but I think it turns out pretty cute. So I don't have a free pattern for you because this is really easy. It's a couple of circles and a rectangle. And the way we're going to work this project is I'm going to use a lot of fabrics, and I don't want to like scare anybody like, nope, that's too advanced for me. So we're going to go back and forth between kind of a demo project that's a lot simpler with fabrics and one that's a little bit more with more fabrics, okay? So hopefully you can bear with me as we jump back and forth between the 2 projects so that, you know, everybody is included. So first thing we're going to start out with, your first pattern piece, 1 circle, 7 inches in diameter. You're going to cut 2 pieces of fabric, and then you can cut an optional piece of batting if you'd like. The second pattern, another circle, which is an old pattern from a Santa hat, is why it says that, is 10 3/4 inches in diameter. You could just make it 11. You're going to cut 2 and an optional piece of batting if you'd like. The last pattern is a rectangle, all right? You're going to cut 1 or 2 as I do. It's 21 inches in length and 8 inches in height. It's actually 20 inches when you're done, but you have this extra inch of seam allowance. We'll go through that a little bit later. So here's all these fabrics I'm going to use. A lot of them came from like Hobby Lobby. Some of them are thrift store. This one in particular is like an old quilt I'm cutting up, so that's an option for you. Old quilts, machine quilt. This is a pillow cover, a pillow sham I found at Goodwill, and I'm cutting it up because I really, really love the texture on it. So these are, I'm just showing you this, so it's things to think about when you're selecting fabrics. This is from Hobby Lobby, I think. This little corduroy is from Hobby Lobby. This is, I know from Hobby Lobby, is their fall section. This is a placemat. I'm using this because, again, I love the texture of the fabrics. So think about that when you're using fabrics. This is batting you can get at Walmart. You can either buy it in a bag or cut by the yard if you want to use batting, or there's this batting. I get this off of eBay. It's like 1 inch thick, and I usually will split it in half. I will have that link down below for you. It's all cotton batting. This is what I'm going to use. Let's look at some ears. We're just going into what we're using here. Now, these ears actually came off of this little topiary, this spring clearance topiary. I'm going to use them. I saved them. But if you don't have that, you just take a piece of wire. I'd probably go with about 18 gauge and then just form it into an ear, twist at the bottom. You know, you'll cut off your excess, of course, and then you can bend the bottom so that it will in there, so it'll go on our hat, and you make 2 of those. There's your ear. So my fabric, I actually used a pattern that was on the ears. I took it off. So you end up with the piece that wraps around the front, the little piece that goes in the inner ear, and then the piece that goes on the back. So here's what I, tore off. Basically, you're going to cut the shape of the ear, but you're going to add an extra inch, okay? The shape of your wire ear, and then an extra inch. And let me show you how it fit on. It basically wrapped around like this. This, like I said, was what was on there. Okay, then you're going to cut a second shape, and that again is going to be the shape of the ear, because that's going to go on the back side here to cover all that mess. All right, and then you'll cut a third shape that's probably maybe a 1/2 inch smaller in diameter of the shape of the ear that'll fit in the center. Okay, here we go. Let's start on our hat. So we're going to start with mine first. I'm working on the larger circle. I've cut one piece and then I cut another piece of that same fabric, not quite half, let's say a quarter. And then this one I cut about 3/4. And I left about an inch extra here so that you could sew or glue the two top pieces together. Okay, so you want to make sure you add a little extra to one piece. All right. Okay, so let's layer this. All right, I've got my bottom piece. I'm adding that big thick batting here, moving Boston out of the way. Add my one piece on top of that 1/4 piece, and then the 3/4 piece on top of that. And that's how mine is going to be assembled, the main one we're working on. Now, if you want it a little bit simpler, pretend you have, your 2 full circles down below. You want 2 full circles, and then just cut like a little half moon shape or something like that for a patch on top, just like that, nice and easy, and you can sew around it or glue it on there. So here's your 2 pieces. Let's say no batting on this. All right, let's make it easy, and your half moon shape is what I'm going to call it. Again, sew or glue around it. Now for the top piece, I'm going to layer. I've got my bottom piece, I've got my batting. Remember, we're going back and forth here, and I've got my little 1/4 piece and then my 3/4 piece at the top. That's how my top's going to get layered. If you want it simpler, you got your 2 pieces on the bottom and your little half moon shape, and you can glue or sew that together. For the main portion of the hat, I've got 2 pieces of fabric here, and I made the one on the left a little bit bigger, remember, so we could sew or glue it together so it forms one piece. And then I will close it, and then I'll have to sew or glue the other side together, so essentially we have a tube when we're done. If you want it nice and easy, just cut one piece of fabric that size, and you're going to kind of fold it over like this, and then fold that portion over, and then you could, glue or sew it together on that seam. That's it. You don't have to piece anything together. So here I am, I'm back on the main one, and I'm just sewing my 2 pieces together on one side here. I love that placemat because I love the little fringe on the end. So here I've got it, but I want to add something more to it. Here's where you can get as involved as you want with fabrics. I'm going to make it easy, but I want to add like a little square patch here. And you can do the same thing if you just want to do it simple with one piece of fabric like this, just a little square patch. All right, and then I've sewn that on, and I want to add a secondary patch. Okay, and then I sewed around that one. The other one we're leaving with just one patch. We're not doing anything, okay? Sewed a couple fabrics on here, made some patches. All right, now I want to bring it together and sew it, and I'll do that off camera. I'm going to just sew along that open seam again so we have a tube, okay? And of course, if you're a gluer, you can glue this together. All right, so if you want it more simple, I've sewn that one patch on. That's all we're doing. We're sewing that one single patch. We're trying to make it simple, and then you just fold it over however you want to do it and sew or glue that together. Okay, you can see here my nice crooked sew line, but it is sewn together. Now what you want to do, we're going to stay on this more simple hat. You've got a little patch in the top if you want, sewn or glued on there, and here I am, sewed it off camera. We're going to take this and we're going to pin it edge to edge inside the top of the hat. We want the edge of that circle pinned to the edge of the top of the tube. Line those edges up, and you can glue or sew. I'm thinking if you glue it, maybe you want to pin it, but put your pins really far apart like this, and then like glue in sections, all right? And then you can add another pin really far apart over here, and then glue that next section, or you can just try to glue it all together at once, but I thought this way might be a little more helpful if you're a gluer and keeping those edges together, and Bella's coming to help. Or if you're a sewer, just pin it all like this, and we'll sew it later, and you can sew it on the top side or the bottom side, okay? So here's my hat. We have to get this together. I'm patching the top, right? So I'm going to pin it together here, and then I sewed it off camera there, just one line down there, just so it's all in one piece. And then we're going to layer it just like the bottom. I'm going to just kind of spot glue it here, or if you're a gluer, glue it all together. All those pieces, batting, top piece, bottom piece, whatever you want. And then if you're a sewer, you can go ahead and sew off camera. I'm going to sew about an inch in because I'm going to leave room for the second sewing. So here you can see it's sewn about an inch in. And now I'm going to pin it to this hat, just like I showed you on the other one. I'm pinning the edge of the circle to the edge of our tube is what I'm going to call it. And here I am all pinned, and we can either sew it from the top edge or from the tube side, I guess. So remember this one, it's pinned, ready to go. Let's take this to the sewing machine so you can see it a little bit easier without any batting in it or anything. I'm sewing it from the tube side so that I can move that tube back and forth to keep any of the wrinkles out of it. Of course, if you're a gluer, you don't have to worry about this part. I just want to show it, okay? Here we are coming to the end. And now we have our hat together. I went ahead and sewed mine off camera since we just seen it sewn on the other one. You can see my crookedy sew lines. I meant to go like a little bit of ways from the first sew line when I sewed the top portion of the hat together, but it kind of interspersed, and that's okay. Okay, hope I'm not giving you like whiplash here, but let's jump back to the more simple pattern. We're on the brim now. If you're a gluer, you're going to glue your two pieces together. All right, you can glue all in the center and everything, and then you can add your little patch here, glue that on. But if you're a sewer, you want to sew your little patch on first to the top layer of fabric only, and then sew your two pieces together. All right, here I am all sewn. We're going to attach the rest of our hat to this bottom piece. All right, but first we want to stuff it because we want to make that inner portion all nice and stiff so it stands upright. And then I fold that raw edge down about an inch. Okay, you can see that here. Just fold it down about an inch. This is how I do it. It's easier for me. And then I go just a couple inches apart and I make slits in that folded down area. Okay, making my slits. And you can do this however it works for you. And then I add glue to that area where it's all slit, where it's all cut. All right, and then you can just fold it over onto. Once you get all your glue down there, fold those cut edges inward so that it will kind of glue to that batting. Is that understandable? I'll show a little more detail on mine. And then add glue to your batting. I don't think I show it on here, but I do show it on the main one, the one I'm more working on, because this is just kind of a real quick demo. It's not going to look pretty. Okay, so you've got all your glue on there. Those are all folded in so that when we add it to our brim, it looks all nice and pretty underneath, okay? Maybe not so pretty, but it'll get covered up. All right, let's move to the main portion here. I've got all my layers together, and I'm going to sew the first top of the fabric here together, those two pieces together. All right, and then I layered my bottom piece, my batting, the sewn top piece, and now I'm sewing around the perimeter. I go about an inch in because I just like how that looks and kind of makes all those edges pop up, I guess. Now we want to, again, like we did the more simpler hat, we want to stuff this nice and tight. All right, and now I'm folding down that raw edge about an inch. Okay, and then we're going to make cuts in it a couple inches apart. And I do this a little different way, the way I glue here. And of course, I'll show you because you can do it either way. But this one I end up doing different. I'm adding glue to a couple of pieces at a time so that I can overlap them a little bit better. Like this. I am realizing as I overlap, this placemat material is kind of thick, so I start adding in straight pins while that sets up. But do you see how I'm really overlapping them? It's going to give us a lot more cleaner edge than how we just did really quick on the demo. So I wanted to make sure I showed this. Overlap them really nice where it's cut so that it'll give us, like I said, that nice clean edge. And then I'm going to add glue once all that's all set up, add glue there, and you can see I've added a lot of glue in on the batting part or the stuffing, and then I'm going to lay it down and let it set up all nice. And see, it's a lot cleaner look when we take our time. And again, that will all get covered up anyway if it's, not real clean looking down there. All right, so let's go back to this hat, the more simpler one. I'm going to just do a little bit here, and then we're going to really move on to the other one. I've ripped about a 2-inch strip of fabric, and I'm going to put this at the bottom of our tube and onto the brim a little bit. So like I said, it covers up that little area where the tube meets the brim. Okay, and I know someone's going to tell me what the tube is really called, but I'm calling it a tube. All right, this is what that looks like. All right, and we'll add a bow here because that's going to cover it up, but let's go for our ears first. So let's actually assemble one, right? I just kind of showed you. I'm going to glue this to the center, or you can sew it. I've sewn it here. I glued a little spot glue and then sewed it. And now I'm adding glue onto the wire frame we made, and I'm going to put it onto the back of that piece. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue at the top of the point first and then fold it down. All right, and then I'll add glue to the around the rest of the perimeter, and again at the sides of that top where it's folded down. See, there and there, so that then I can fold the sides over, and you're just going to go all the way around, folding that inward. My Fabri-Tac glue doesn't quite want to stay down as well because it takes a little bit to set up, but it works great. You can see it popping back up. But then you're going to put that other little piece on the back so it covers up all that folded area. And now you've got 2 ears here, and you could bend them and everything how you want to do it. And then you'll just glue both of those ears on the wire, just kind of right up and tuck it right up underneath that tube. All right? And again, that'll get kind of covered up. And then with that same material, you can rip another strip, you can, make a bow out of it, you can glue it on wherever you want to glue it on, and then you could add some cute, like carrots and stuff from Dollar Tree. They have all sorts of different kind of carrots. Now, I know we didn't really finish this hat all together, but I just wanted you to see the difference on how cute it could look with just 2 or 3 fabrics versus the 10 that I'm using. But I didn't want anyone to feel like they couldn't do this project or feel intimidated because I was using 30,000 fabrics, okay? All right, let's move on and finish the main hat here. So originally I was going to do that oranger fabric in the center, but I decided to go with this fabric from Dollar Tree to kind of add a little fluff. Again, I like the texture. I'm going to sew it on and then do it just like we did the other ear off camera, so it's ready for you. And I changed it to that color because I wanted to use this kind of really pretty orange plaid fabric. I got it from Jubilee Fabrics. I'll have a link in my description box. Again, ripped about a 2-inch strip. I sewed around the perimeter of it just so, it adds a little something, but again, laying it at the bottom of the tube and onto the brim a little bit so you can see what it looks like here. Looks nice. And all our sewing with our patches and our different fabrics. I love how this hat turned out. I really hope you guys like both versions, even though we jumped around quite a bit. Here are my ears all the way done, and I'm just going to glue them into position, again, underneath kind of that fabric and under the tube a little bit. And then what I did is I had to kind of bend the ears inward a little bit here so that I could glue it to the hat. Otherwise, they kept flopping forward. So you might find you need to do that if you, whatever hat you make. You can see how it's kind of bent there, but I think that gives it personality. And then I'm going to go ahead and just glue my other piece of ripped fabric that I, put into a bow right down there so it covers the wire, anything like that. And then these carrots came from Dollar Tree. I thought it matched my little orange plaid fabric nice. I'm pulling off that top using this. It's a placemat that I got at a thrift store, and I'm just cutting, little 1/2-inch slits all the way down, leaving about 1 inch. I don't cut all the way through. I leave about 1 inch at the bottom, and then I can just start to glue and roll it up. It's about 2 inches tall, about 4 inches long, each little top here. I cut a little bit off, roll it up, and glue it together. So hopefully that's understandable. It's probably easier to watch than what I said. And then I'm going to add a little glue at this wire and I'm going to poke it right in. Don't worry, it'll be cuter. I've got 2 done. We're not going to leave it there. Now I'm taking just some twine. You can see 1 done there, and I'm wrapping it at the bottom of that greenery so it hides all of that. I kind of double wrap it there, make it a little bit thick. Cut off the excess, glue it down, and then I make a bow out of the remaining piece of twine there, just twine from Dollar Tree, and I'll glue that little bow on here. Cute, right? And then I'm going to glue both carrots down. I just glue them down to the side. I was going to glue 1 on each side. No, I'm just going to glue them all on the right side. So I kind of glue 1 down and back behind the bow a little bit, and then 1 kind of up. And it'll stick together really well too, because that bottle brush, you push it together and it sticks together. Anyway, here's what that looks like. That makes this project complete. Let's take a look at the comparison. So the one on the right is the one that we were all hoping I could lindify, and the one on the left is the one that I did. I don't know. What do you think? Would you make this project? I I hope you like both of these spring projects today, our bunny-eared theme. I think they turned out great. I really hope I didn't turn anybody off from the hat. I'm kind of worried about that because you all know I really tend to lendify it, but I just didn't want anybody to think it can't be done because it looks just as cute with a lot less fabric. So I do hope you try it. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project you would like to make for your spring home decor. Please give this video a thumbs up, and if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, we got lots of spring crafts up ahead. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Oh, and you can share this video if you'd like to. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. To be overwhelmed in life from hearing or receiving bad news can be of concern and bring feelings of sadness. It may also leave you wondering, where is God in all this? Does he even hear me? It's hard to navigate what to do and where to go when you don't feel that connection with God. What is happening in our mindset to make us think like this? Here's the 411. The enemy prowls around like a roaring lion seeking to see what he can destroy. So when your thoughts aren't girded up with the armor of God, the enemy suddenly has an end to a situation, and he will use that weakness in your mind to whisper that you are alone. You're helpless. God is doing something more important, so he won't show up, and he doesn't care. Here's what you need to do. You power up. You plug in. You stand a little taller, immediately declare Jesus in and through your situation, and shove any thoughts of the enemy far, far away. Never have thoughts of it's too hard or I can't do this. It only gives the enemy the upper hand. You need to listen to what Jesus is saying to you in this moment. Consider his words. They are simple and they hold great truth. God chose you. He loves you. He will never leave you, and you will never be forgotten. You will be perfectly safe with him because he will reign and rule over your life despite the circumstance. He will equip you with what you need to get through it. While you're waiting in this season, your faith may be challenged because you may not always see God in the physical realm of it all. In those times, remember that you live by faith and not by sight. It may not be easy, it may be hard, but you will get through it with God. And here's the clincher of it. He knows the plans he has for you, and they are mighty. You will be called an oak of righteousness, and joy will come with the morning. Lean on him with all your strength. He will walk with you through the fire. He will direct your path, and even though you may walk through the valley, God will comfort you. No matter what comes your way, he will be with you. Beside you. Lean into that. Hold steadfast to it. Never let it go, and don't give in to the lies of the enemy. God has you. He's got your situation, and with God, all things are possible. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.